Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tabletop Junction. My name is Jordan, with a silent PH in the middle. And I think we're live. We are! Hello! We have Rock Formation Radio 1 coming in our chat. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. We're going to talk about some news. Let's see what we got going on. Lots of stuff going on. GenCon is in like full bore. I think this is the first year that all 4 days of GenCon were completely sold out. Usually it sells out by Saturday, Sunday, but like everything was sold out starting on Thursday. So that was really, really crazy. As always, there should be a forums link in the description, and you guys can leave me messages. This is a tabletop talk show. We're just going to talk about RPGs mostly and the news going on, and there's lots of news to talk about. First of all, good morning and happy August. September is right around the corner, which means the D&D 2024 book will be available for everybody in 2024, but we'll get about that in just a minute. First of all, we're going to talk about ENnie Awards. So this is a random website I found, but it was the one that listed all of the ENnie Awards, so I wanted to bring it up. We can just go through some of these, but we have Delta Green, God's Teeth won Best Adventure Long Form. Short Form Adventure was Eat the Reich. Digital Accessory, Hexroll 2E looked really interesting. I don't know let's look at Legend Keeper really quick. Legend Keeper. Oh, this was, okay, yeah. This is like a boards, maps, and wikis for your game. And I think I want to do that. There we go. But the big one, I believe, well, the big one I knew about, Ultraviolet Grasslands 2nd edition got silver for Best Art Interior. Cartography, the Dragon Bang core set, and Alien RPG. NEZA, D&D Boo. Yeah, that's how a lot of people feel right now. Family game Break. So I remember this mostly because of the art, but I was a little surprised because I guess people were thinking that this game wasn't going to actually fulfill. And so people were really excited when I think it was like within the last week or so that they actually got like a physical book in their hands. So pretty cool. I need to look into this more because it won some Ennies, and I don't know, people are going on about it. But I didn't realize that it would be like a family RPG game because I don't know, it's just inspired by video games and anime, so I didn't necessarily associate it with like kids or 10 and under kind of a thing, but maybe it'll work. Best game. So Shadowdark RPG kind of like swept everything from what I've heard. And best layout, Shadowdark. Monsters, best online content. Alexandrian won a lot of stuff. Shout out to Dave because I really enjoyed Dave's channel, so his RPG reviews are good. He got silver. But yeah, best rules, Shadowdark. And best supplement, Alien RPG, which is going to be interesting because I just heard that they're announcing Alien RPG 2nd edition, and I didn't think the Alien RPG was that old, so I'm a little confused why they're going out there. But product of the year, Shadowdark RPG. I have yet to play Shadowdark. Is it something that I need to dive into more? I mean, I've read Shadowdark, and I think it's cool, but it's, as far as like retro clones, there's so many out there. And I was like, well, no, it's like another really well-written retro clone. But I wonder if it's the 5e base, so 5e players are allowed to get into it a little easier, that it blew up so much. But regardless, I think that at my indie RPG nights here where I live, my game store is going to be doing some indie RPG nights. I think Shadowdark is going to lead the way for the games that we're going to run. So probably I'll run something there. D&D 2024 PHB is out in the wild, and there are reviews popping up. Here is a review that I found on Wargamer, and they just kind of go through like the player's handbook and things like that, blah, 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 blah. You can look all over the internet for stuff like that. I am still confused by D&D 2024's, duel wielding. So I'm still confused about duel wielding. And there was somebody in my comments on a video that I made that said, oh, it's kind of like this. And I wanted to bring this up. So Mystic Sweezy, thank you for your thing, but I'm still confused. So from my understanding, with the dual wielder feat, now your attack action still needs to be a light weapon, but your bonus action doesn't need to be a light weapon. It just can't have the two-handed property, which is what I understand, but I want to, in a game of this, I want to use like a scimitar in my main hand and a dagger, a light one, in my offhand. And that's how I want to attack. But it sounds like I have to attack with a dagger in my main hand so I can attack with a scimitar in my offhand. And that feels weird. So this should work in tandem with the Nick weapon mastery, which I'm not sold on this weapon mastery stuff just yet. So if I have Nick gives me 2 attacks with an action, but not adding the ability modifier to my second attack. So I attack with my dagger, hua hua, and then as a bonus action, I can attack with my scimitar, and 2-weapon fighting style would let me add the ability modifier to my second attack. So I still can't dual wield like 2 long swords, is what it sounds like. Everything has to be light. I'm a little like this kind of talk already. I was hoping that we would get this kind of like minutia, like what does it really mean to cast Twin Spell? And we kind of like talk about it, and then maybe Jeremy Crawford puts a tweet out like back in the day. This edition obviously is getting a lot more scrutiny than other stuff, but I don't know. I just don't. This just does not make me want to run or play 2014 or 2024 D&D. Because I have to like dissect the code of the game in order to understand it. So thank you again, Mystic Sweezy, but it says it is very confusing. I hope that helps. I appreciate you trying to help. If you guys are looking for some fun videos on the 2024 PHB Alpha Stream, who's part of the Dungeon Mastery podcast, and he's written a lot of stuff for D&D, and he's just big in the like writing sphere. He's got a good series on his YouTube channel called What Does It Mean to Make It in Tabletop RPGs? Like if you want to be a writer, or if you want to design a game world, things like that. Like what does it mean? Like how do you measure success in tabletop gaming? Like working in this sphere. So his channel is really great. He also has a great review where he talks about his like 3 favorite things and 3 unfavorite things about the 2024 PHB. And that ultimately it's like, it's just, people are going to use it. So like, this is the way forward, regardless of how we, if you want to stay in D&D, this is kind of what's going to happen. And it reminded me that I am in a Discord, and we had a couple people pop in, and they're like, does anyone want to play 3.5? And it was just like crickets. Like nobody piped up. And I've never played 3.5, but like, I'm not interested. I'm not seeking it. I'm not really looking for 3.5 games. And I think that's how 2014 5e is going to kind of be. Even though the 2024 Dungeons & Dragons book, or like D&D Revised is what it kind of feels like, even though that book feels like an add-on any more than Planegea feels like an add-on, like here's some new rules, or Tales of the Valiant, or all these other third-party books. It's like, here's my base game, and now I can add some of these different things in there. Level Up 5e, I hear people do that all the time. I'm not sold, other than like, we're now collectively, because Wizards of the Coast has said it, we're all going to kind of be talking about it. So, and then I have a link down below, or I will have a link down below. I don't think I've added these yet, so they will be in the show notes at some point. But Sly Flourish also does a good video. We're going to jump over to GenCon. So many things at GenCon. Again, talking about Wizards of the Coast, but DnD Beyond VTT is Project Sigil, I guess is what it's called, or Sigil. I think it's Sigil, they were saying, even though the city is named something else. It's going to go to consoles as well, which I thought was interesting, but is a smart choice. If you're already using the Unreal Engine, then why not take that and put it on consoles? I don't know if that means that people will be on their console with their headphones playing D&D, because I wouldn't want to be a dungeon master on a virtual con or a virtual tabletop space like that, especially on a console. I would want my computer so I can see all this other stuff. But if it's like Baldur's Gate 3, where somebody on the PS5 can play with me on my computer, that works. And I think that could be really good. So there are a lot of people out there who don't have a computer that can run certain things. This really opens it up for being like, oh, I just need an Xbox? Cool. So that obviously is a place they're going, and they're going to sell this. It's going to be a product they can make money with. So Ted from Nerd Immersion was at this was at this press conference that WotC did, and he had some interesting takeaways that I wanted to reiterate. But one is, will this be this is going to be a digital toy box. It's not going to be Baldur's Gate 3. So they're not looking for a D&D they're not looking for a video game version of D&D. They really want you to have a tools, and there's going to be, I mean, it's going to be monetized to hell and back, but like, I really don't see differences in virtual tabletops where people are investing money at home in minis, or they're investing money in terrain and things like that, because people value that experience. And I think the online version, people are going to value this. And what WotC wants to do is have the player value. So it's like, oh, I'm going to play a wizard. Man, I really want to get this skin for Magic Missile where they're all blue jays instead of missiles. And so I fire 4d4 blue jays that do damage -1 or damage +1. And that's the kind of thing I think you're going to get, where players are going to buy this and be like, oh, great. The backlash of that, I think, is how many players are going to buy this and then play their character for, I don't know, 3 or 4 sessions, and then it fizzles out. And then they're really upset that they bought all of these skins for a character that they really won't be able to play anymore. And that's my takeaway from it, because there's so, like, having a game master buy these things, like, I'm going to run multiple games with the terrain and the minis that I'm buying and things like that. Like, that has value to me. But as a player, when it's like, well, now I can't, I mean, I could use this again, but it was kind of for that player. That's my takeaway from it. So I'm really curious how this is going to evolve as we move forward. The Artificer is coming. Of course it is. A lot of people were like, why no Artificer? I'm like, it's always released later because they want to sell you more books, and it's got to be tied to Eberron in some way. I would be surprised if we get another Eberron source book to the magnitude that was the 5e version. But I am not surprised that we will get an Eberron something. They will definitely release Eberron because people want Warforged. People want the Artificer, and they're going to include it. So I would love for them to do a source book for a different continent. So we got like mostly Corvair in this last 5e book. Why don't you do Zendrick, or why don't you do Sarlona, one of the other continents, and just give us like, here's how to run a game there, because, it's backwards compatible, they tell us. So we'll see. Paizo launched the Starfinder 2e playtest. So I find this interesting because I thought Starfinder was basically Pathfinder 2e. And so but then they made Pathfinder 2e revised. And so I think that's what this Starfinder is doing. They're going to strip out everything that was part of the old OGL so that it can be part of the Orc license and things like that. Starfinder 2e playtest, this is going to go on from right now until the end of the year, December 31st. And they're going to just clean it up and make it better, I guess. I'm trying to remember. Now, is Paizo the Orc license? Is that what I remember? Now I want to look. Who does the Orc license? I think that's Paizo. Yeah, there we are. So Paizo did the Orc license. I have some creative friends who are just like, you would have, if you would have told me like 10 years ago that Paizo would have a restrictive license that you're kind of like, I don't really want to publish under that, and Wizards of the Coast put everything in Creative Commons, they're like, I would have like spit in your face. I would have laughed so hard. But that's exactly what's happened. WotC put everything into Creative Commons. Not everything. They put the OGL in Creative Commons. And now Paizo has this Orc license, and I have publisher friends that are just like, I would not use that. Like that, they could change it, things go up, I would just not ever rely on that. Not to say that it's bad, but I mean, I guess if you don't have people wanting to use it, that is the definition of bad. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I haven't really gone into a lot of this of why they're upset about it, but because I don't plan on publishing anything under the orc license. When Creative Commons is just a lot easier to wrap your head around and has more legal protections in the background. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting how they're really focusing on their orc license. But yeah, so Starfinder 2e playtest is happening. Go playtest. We'll see what it is. And then the other big the other big GenCon news I saw was that Alien the RPG is getting a second edition. So they just won with the ENnies, like expand product or something. Where was it? One Shot Wonders, Ultraviolet Grasslands, Alien Building Better Worlds. So Free League made this supplement for Alien. Building Better Worlds and colonization, exploring the stars. Now, if you're into like the Mothership, the Alien, this is popular. Alien is popular. I think Mothership came out and a lot of people were comparing the two, and I think Alien got a boost from that as well. Like, this is doing well from what I'm told. And it won Best Game for 2020. And so it's kind of like, this is really cool. Does it need a second edition? It's only 4 years old. Like, I'm a little blown away by that. But yeah, apparently they're doing a second edition. It's going to go to Kickstarter soon. And this is highlighting something that I want to talk about, where we have a lot of companies, it feels, that are doing a 2e version when it's not really a new version. It's just a revised version, and WotC included, because Dungeons & Dragons 2024 is just a revised 5e. And this Alien game, I don't think it's going to be that different. Like, Free League's very focused on what they do. I think it's going to be a revised Alien. And case in point, I backed Kickstarter. I backed the Kickstarter for Kids on Bikes 2nd edition, and I got it. 90% of the book is exactly the same. They've added a couple things. They cleaned it up. They did this and that. And I liked the changes they made. But after I received it and read it, I'm like, I didn't need to buy this. Like, I have Kids on Bikes, and you didn't present me with anything 2e. This isn't a new version. You just revised and cleaned up your original version. So I wish we could get some like consistency with what 2nd edition means now. Like, why don't they call it Advanced Alien, the RPG? No, maybe not. So yeah. Vyson, I always want to say Vason, but Vyson, Mutant 00, Dragonbane, they make great stuff. So, and yeah, John says in chat, this makes money, and you're absolutely right. You got to do another Kickstarter to make money, and you're going to do a Kickstarter. Who's going to back that Kickstarter? Oh, they're making a 2nd edition. I'll do it. I'm just frustrated that I guess 2nd edition 2e of a game means something differently in my head than it means to publishers. And I'm getting cautious now as I am looking out at stuff. So this is a little older, the news, but I realized I hadn't covered it. Modiphius is making a Space 1999 tabletop RPG. So what is Space 1999? If you are Jordan and you don't know, it was a 1975 sci-fi British show that lasted for 2 seasons. So 75 and it ended in 77. This is going to use their 2D20 system that Modiphius loves. That system is in Dune, Fallout, Homeworld, Star Trek Adventures, Dishonored. There's a lot of games, a lot of properties that they take in, and they're like, oh, we'll make this into a role-playing system. I don't know if this has a fan base to, like, does it have a fan base? I'm like, I've never heard of this show. I know you can watch the TV show on, or at least the first episode, like the pilot stuff is on YouTube. So I was like, maybe I'll watch that later and see if it's any fun. Like, I like Doctor Who, and I like old Doctor Who. So, this could be fun. But it's one of those odd things where I'm like, are we scraping the bottom of the bucket now for fan properties to make stuff out of? Still, the people that are talking about it seem to be excited, but I'm just confused more than anything. So A 1999 British science fiction TV show. The premiere episode set in the year 1999. A nuclear waste stored on the moon's far side explodes, which knocks the moon out of orbit, sending it as well as the 311 inhabitants on Moonbase Alpha hurling uncontrollably into space. And I guess that's the premise of the show. I'm just really curious. The program will produce each comprising 24 episodes. Production of the first series. Yeah, the premise of the show. Humanity has been storing all of its waste on the moon. It's so funny. Unknown form of magnetic radiation is detective. So, I don't know. It could be fun, but yeah, Moonbase Alpha, I don't know anything about it. I'm really curious now. But it's just one of those things where I'm pretty active in nerd sci-fi fantasy stuff, you know? Like, even though I haven't read Brandon Sanderson, I know of his books, kind of a thing. This is one of those things where I'm like, I had never heard of this, and I just think it's really, really funny. But they're turning it into a Kickstarter, so we'll see. The moon is hurtling through space. You're going to take part on a journey full of danger, wonder, dedicated to the crew of Moonbase Alpha and their search for a new home. Play an adventurous pilot, a stalwart security guard, a bold commander, an audacious medic, or any one of the 300 Alphans. And I wonder if that is all characters from the show, like the medic, the pilot, the thing. So, but got details about life on Moonbase Alpha, complete rule system, unique characters. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Thank you, Snake Oil Sean, for the super chat. He says, if it's small enough publisher that just starts getting attention from a larger audience, second edition could be justified to reintroduce the product. That's true. Like, I wasn't upset with Knave second edition. And Knave second edition didn't, like, drastically change how Knave worked. But for some reason, Kids on Bikes, I was a little upset. Or I was a little salty after I got it. Still, the book looks amazing, so I don't know. I shouldn't be too upset. I have yet to play one of these. I do have sorry, I'm going back to the 2D20 system. I do have Star Trek Adventures, and I think I have a free RPG preview of Homeworld, because I really liked Homeworld 1 and 2, the game. So we'll see about that. But yeah, somebody, Rockform Radio 1, you were saying that it's a neat premise, and it is kind of a neat premise for a sci-fi RPG. Like, you're on a planet that doesn't have a sun. You're hurtling through the solar system. Like, you're on Spaceship Moon, and that's kind of fun. And how do you pilot Spaceship Moon? How do you try to find a new home? So this is the section of the show where I like to talk about crowdfunding. And not ironically, but this morning I was looking at stuff, and I'm like, I don't think I have any crowdfunding I want to talk about. Then I remembered that Ultraviolet Grasslands is getting a sequel/prequel called Our Golden Age. So Exalted Funeral is running this, and they've had a lot of successful games. This is written, and it's like the brainchild of, I think his name's Luca. And Luca, he does really cool stuff. So Ultraviolet Grasslands, it's phenomenal. It's such a good idea, and I think it was like 5e compatible, and then it actually had its own rule set in there as well. The art is so good. Like, they do such a great job with the art in Ultraviolet Grasslands. And so this is like a prequel sequel. It just says like bracket equal, so I don't really know. I think that's ambiguous on purpose, obviously. And lots of cool stuff going on in here. This is supporting indie followers. Like, if you want to support indie games, then this is the one for you, because these are good people that are making really interesting, fantastic games. I have not backed this yet, but I will. And you should subscribe here to the Jocular Junction, because Lucas sent me a preview PDF, and Lex and I, when we can find some time, we're going to film a flip through of it, the two of us. We'll talk about it and things like that before the Kickstarter ends, hopefully. This just went up like a week ago or so. We've got 27 days left, so less than a week it started. But you should definitely check this out. Links will be down below in general. I can put a link in chat really quick too. and very excited for that. So the Mother Machine, I don't know much about it other than I want to run Ultraviolet Grasslands, which I have a copy of that. But yeah, man, the book looks good. Very cool stuff. The next one, this is a game, actually, JP Couvert was like, hey, I think you would like this, because he knows that I wrote Mecha Goons, which is a Tunnel Goons hack where you pilot mechas. And that's available on my itch for free if you want to check it out, jorphdan.itch.io. Ironheart is a lo-fi solo mech RPG. So he sent me this just kind of like, hey, Jordan, I know you like mechs, so I thought you should check this out. And the art in this also looks very, very good. Oh, I can't zoom in that much. So Ironheart is a lo-fi solo mech RPG. Relax into your own story of interstellar exploration. Create a pilot and their mech best friend and sail the stars with. Discover planets, solar systems, and cultures of your own making in this peaceful galaxy of the Astral Union. Not a lot of conflict when we talk about this, but it's a solo RPG. It's like a journaling one. So here's the thing is I was talking to a few people. I'm like, I don't know anyone who actually plays solo RPGs. And this is something that I want to get into. I watched a video. Kelsey Dione she published her solo dark rules for Shadowdark. And she was saying that it's really like, she'd never really got into solo journeying in the video that I was watching. And she was talking about how she really started to like value the use of solo RPGs and that you can get a lot out of it. And I was like, oh, okay. And so maybe this is one where I need to pick this up and try. I read through 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, and I don't think it was the game for me, but also it was a lot of journaling, and I always feel like I have other things to do, but I need to schedule time. And I have an idea for a video. I want to get into solo RPGs and then basically like vlog about it over the course of a month or something, and then make a nice like 15-minute video on like what is the value of solo RPGs and is solo RPGs for me? Because I think there is value there. I just haven't figured out what it is. So, or like, I don't know, that spark of RPG-ness for solo RPGs. But again, this looks really cool and pretty. I do like mechs. It looks fun. I don't know much about this other than JP sent it to me, but it looks cool. So, and again, this is Ironheart. I want to say iron, but like Ironheart. Yeah, I guess you're right, Snake Ocean. I think solo play people don't really talk and brag about their solo play because you don't have that connection of like, let me talk to, I don't know, let me go to the coffee shop and I'm going to talk with my friend about how we both ran Tomb of Horrors or something, and people have that connected experience, which is one of the things I like about tabletop RPGs is that we can do that. So, but you're right, I do like choose your own adventures. I don't think solo journaling RPGs are like choose your own adventures, but maybe they could be. Maybe that's what I'm losing. So, but it looks cool. It's a D6 system. You guys know I like D6s, and it looks like for a physical game, it's about $40. So that's pretty decent. Yeah, I should totally pick that up. So that is what is on the list of crowdfunding right now. There's still a couple crowdfundings going on that I want to mention again. Again, the last week I talked about it, but Dice Dungeons is doing their 5e 80s adventures, which I thought was really fun. And yes, they did sponsor a video on the main channel, but like a legit, I just think it's super fun. And I was talking to my friend LB Hackemup, and she was like, I want to play in that. I want to run it. I want to do whatever. So like, I'm going to contact Dice Dungeons as the Kickstarter fulfills and completes. And then when it's kind of like about to be released, we're going to talk to them about actually getting the adventure early and maybe running the Camp Crystal one, which is like the horror one that we could run for 5e. And I think that could be a lot of fun. So stay on the news for that. That'd be a lot of fun. We were already talking about inviting Lex and getting the old crew back together, the Banana Bunch. Design and inspiration, guys. I have been very busy. My sister's getting married. I have lots of other stuff going on. I've been making videos. I've been working on things. So I have done little to no writing for Modular D6. But I did send it out to Lex and a couple other people to be like, just read this and tell me if it looks good. Tell me if it makes sense. I really want to know. And they were saying that I haven't actually got any feedback yet, but they were excited to read it. And then Lex is just a good friend, and he's really been my advocate for finding playtest people. So I'm excited to do that. I need to put out a Patreon like sign-up sheet and see if we can get a Patreon game going where we can playtest. If you guys are interested in that, that would be a lot of fun. So. And then as far as my games, I was supposed to run Dying Earth last week, but we had too many players cancel, so I ended up playing a Mothership game, and that my friend ran for us, and that was a lot of fun. My first time playing Mothership, I like the system a lot. I want to explore it more, because I think I was trying to roll my dice too much, and towards the end they were like, you don't have to roll dice. Like, you should, if you're rolling dice, you're failing. So like critically think your way out of this, and then we'll roll dice when like there's tension. And I'm like, oh, okay, it makes more sense. I want to try that. And then Planegea is today. So I started workshopping some Planegea ideas the other day, and I had really nothing. I'm like, what do I want them to do in this session? I got to think of something. So I was talking to my partner, and I was like, well, they're in a forest, or they're not in a forest. I was like, they're in like a mushroom, like myconid kind of hive. Like there's a bunch of things around. She's like, why don't they just try hallucinogenic mushrooms? And I'm like, oh, that would be awesome. So now I want to have this like, come join our tribe and partake of the food, and then have some kind of weird mental attack where they have to battle all sorts of strange creatures that they don't understand, but it all turns out to be in their mind. And then as they leave this, they get new revelations about the world around them. And the new revelations will probably be something like where the other idols are located, or perhaps their god, Urash, the bear god, is in danger because they did go on this quest to go find these divine idols to save their god. But at the same time, they left their god alone, asleep, vulnerable, like who's watching him? And I thought that was kind of a fun idea to explore. And then also, fighting a pseudo-God. So another thing I want to do is, like, young Lolth is going to be our ultimate protagonist, and she's the one who's trying to devour Urhash and gain his power. They want to get his divine bones. And so I think when they finally bring back the 4 idols to Urhash, I think the Spider Queen will be waiting there, and there will be like a big climactic battle against that. Another thing I want to introduce is Gnolls. So I have this idea that I'm using the demon lords from Dungeons and Dragons as a template for my like pseudo gods that haven't risen up yet, that are actually holding on to these divine ivory powerful things. And so one of them I want to be Yanagu. So we're going to have a bunch of like Gnolls attack. And so one of the possibilities is we're going to have hallucinogenic mushrooms. They could go on a quest for the mushroom people to try and help them. And then I want to have a Gnoll attack that ravages the mushroom, the myconid colony, and see where my players go with that. So I got to look for minis today. I got to look for a map, kind of build a couple of fights and things like that. And then also I want to do some exploration. So I need to kind of figure out how I want to do that. I was thinking like a bone maze, like here's where all of the bones of the creatures the myconids couldn't finish digesting. They go to this area, and I want it to be this weird necropolis kind of place. And that's what I'm leaning towards. So after I get done with this show, I'm going to be working on that because I have 3 hours before my players show up, and I kind of need to do that. But I'm also a last minute kind of like planner. That's kind of what I do. So we'll make it work. And that's kind of what I'm doing. I mean, ENnies were big, I guess. And I'm really happy. I was telling my partner that I was like, I don't know Kelsey that well, but like she's such a genuine, nice person. It's kind of like a lot of those people, like Chris McDowd and Ben Milton. When you meet them, they're just humble, nice people. They don't have larger than life personalities, which is probably another reason their YouTube channels haven't like exploded, because they are just like down to earth, like decent people. Not that YouTubers are undecent people, but I hope I get my point across. That I'm so happy that they're succeeding, like both of them. Like when Ben's Kickstarter got to, I think like 500,000, 300,000, something like that for Knave 2. And when Kelsey got this one and her $1 million Kickstarter and things like that, I'm just really happy for them. And so I thought it was really great that she was able to win this. Although a couple of my friends were like, yeah, the ENnies are weird because it's, I don't know, ENnie award ceremony is weird. Like just like the Oscars or anything else, it's an industry award from industry people to industry people. Yes, it means something because you're being recognized by your own people in the industry, but at the same time, there's a lot of politics and there's a lot of like, well, of course Kelsey won because she has like the loudest Kickstarter. Like it got the most promotion out there, you know. Will DC20 win next year because he got another $1 million thing? Will MCDM win, or does MCDM not even care and they're not going to enter in any of their products? Like, I think that's another thing is they're like, I'm just not going to enter in any of my products. And then if entering stuff is a thing, like, could I enter the Jocular Junction to be up there with Dave and Seth Skorkowski and things like that? I should look into that for next year. Maybe I'll submit this channel and see where it goes. So, 4 Against Darkness has good, simple, and solo choose your own adventure style adventures. I'll have to check that out. Against the Darkness. 4 Against Darkness. I'll check that one out for sure. Break is another one I need to check out. It's going to be exciting. This is kind of a quicker show because I have to prep my game, but so we're going to end a little bit early, but I want to say thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and chatting, and I will be here will I be here next week? Yes. Next week is the sister's wedding, but that's not until the afternoon, so I'm totally going to plan on doing a show that morning, and very excited to be here. As always, my name is Jordan with the silent PH in the middle. Thank you guys for watching and listening. If you want to support the channel, you can become a YouTube member, or you can do a super chat. Thank you again, Snake Oil Sean, for the $10 super chat. Patreon is also the best way to support me, and you can go to patreon.com/Jordan with a PH in the middle. And if you just want more information on me and what I'm working for, you can always go to Patreon. You can always go to jordan.com, jorphdan.com, and find me there. I will see you guys next week, if not before, and I wish you the very best. So take care, everybody. Let me see if I can find my transition out of here, and bye-bye.